All right, are we on?
You are on.
Call this meeting to order at 5:01 p.m. on February 19th. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Open Meeting Law, General Law 238, 1825, and Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, notice is hereby given that there will be a regular meeting of the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority, and the meeting is being held both in person and remotely, according to the provisions of the executive order extended by Governor Healy on March 29th, 2023. This meeting notice contains the link above provided the public with remote access. The meeting is being recorded, and matters listed on this agenda are those reasonably anticipated by the chairperson, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. Can I have a roll call, please?
Stephanie Board. Here. Tiffany Espinosa. Thomas Creed.
Yes.
Carl Eager. Patrick Bougeri.
Yes.
All set.
I'm here with Tom Creed, and we're joined by member Daphne Board on Zoom. Hello, Daphne. Good to see you.
Good to see you all.
So, we have Kevin Forte from TDI. So I actually am wondering if we should skip down so we can have a update from our Mass Development TDI fellow. That's acceptable. Everyone good? Yep. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Hey, buddy. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I understand you want to give us an update on your work, and we're really pleased to have you here.
Cool. Yeah, likewise. Sorry I couldn't be in person. My house is in infirmary right now. I got 3 out of the 4 kids with fevers. So I didn't want to show up and get people sick.
We appreciate it.
We'll say, well, we're coming around the bend. I don't know, in Spanish we have all these sayings about horse racing. You know, it's like the final curve, I think, going into the straight. With TDI and the High Street experiment project, let's say. So we have, I think, hit a stride in year 2, at the end of in year 2, when we kind of like really understood the community. We understood ways that we could address some of the urgent needs of the community, and we kind of developed a good rapport with business owners, property owners, and likes. I think we've had a couple of hits or misses over the past couple of years that we've been able to kind of add to and improve as we have progressed in time. Also, we're the only TDI team with a team, actually. So we have 2 people that work 10 and 15 hours each, that are funded through TDI funds, but also funds that we've raised outside through the Boston Federal Reserve. So I feel like we've been able to do a lot of outreach, a lot of relationship building, and being able to get the community to come under common causes and address some of the issues in the downtown. So I think a large focus for us has been the basics. So safety and security, cleanliness, and just the general appearance of the downtown. And then how do we try to promote or spur economic development through the infusion of necessary capital investments, particularly into small businesses. And I would say there's 3 main initiatives that we have been working on that we're going to build upon. And I just wanted to make everybody kind of like aware of where this is going, because it's going to involve everybody at some point, as we try to do a much more like citywide approach to kind of continuing the work of TDI. So the first initiative has been the trash collection downtown. I don't know if you've noticed, but we, through kind of just like the community came together, and like, aside from the safety and security, appearance was a big issue. And the things that people mentioned the most were the trash, just the amount of litter of the downtown. And just the general kind of like sense of the downtown is kind of unkept. And it was more of a like, why don't we just do it ourselves and see how this goes? So with the help of our team and the community, we purchased and placed 18 trash cans all up and down High Street. We also hired a service, and right now we're coming up with so TDI has sponsored the trash pickup once a week for all the 18 trash cans that are up and down High Street, and this has had overwhelmingly like positive reception in the community. Like we have business owners begging for us to put the trash can in front of their business, and then they're going to mind taking care of it. We have people, business owners that when the trash can is full, but there's still 2-3 days for pickup, they have bags and they pick up the trash and they throw it out themselves. We've had kind of like a real impact in this sense. And in addition to that, we have been spending money on landscaping and trimming. So we cleaned out all the tree pits in the fall. And now, starting, I hopefully, I think it's in April, we're gonna have somebody come down and spray. So we don't get all these like massive bushes in the tree pits and in between the cracks of the sidewalk and stuff. So, and this has been noted by, actually, I think we caused a great first impression because we had the Merck Family Fund, who was looking to pivot from their traditional philanthropic investments into a gateway city strategy, and they came to visit Holyoke. And they walked through the office of TDI because they sat down with us. The first thing they said is they couldn't believe how clean the downtown looked. And that we had never received a comment like that, ever, by no one. So we were really proud of that. So that's the main initiative that we've done in terms of like appearance. The trash cans, now what we're doing is we're putting together a proposal because we want the trash cans to be sponsored by either a local bank or small businesses, because TDI, as we're not continuing, the funds are not going to be available. But we feel like, if somebody wants to take credit for how nice the downtown looks, that we hope that's going to be somewhat of an easy sell to, I don't know, again, one of the businesses that like a local business that has an interest in the downtown. It's not a lot of money. It's about $10,000 a year for 18 trash cans for once a week pickup. As we add more, the cost might go up, but anyway, that's one initiative. The second initiative that I wanted to mention was the formation of a bid. So this is trying to continue the work that we've been doing downtown. We've had enormous purchase with the small business owners and property owners who kind of like wanted a space where they could come together and talk about these things like safety, security, and appearance as like the basics. So what we did was, with the help of OPED, we got a grant to, well, first TDI retained a consultant, and then with the help of OPED, we got a grant through the state to retain her much longer than we needed. Much longer than what TDI could hire her for. She is the expert on forming business improvement districts in downtowns across the Commonwealth, and she's here working with us now. And she is, she's helped us kind of like think of and then organize a successful business improvement district in the downtown. And it's not just like businesses coming together and saying like, let's form a bid. It is incredibly complicated and convoluted. And there's a lot of like landmines in the process. Proof of that is there's several of them that actually failed, like not taking care of proper relationships between business owners and property owners, not having proper outreach, not selling the benefits ahead of time, not lobbying the people who have to eventually approve it. All these are like obstacles in the way of approving a successful bid. But a bid is essentially a private institution where property owners and business owners of a defined area contribute into a fund that provides supplemental services to this area. So we could think of continuing the trash pickup, to continuing the landscape, to throwing events, to creating holiday decorations, to participating better in expanding certain events that have purchase and want to bring people downtown. How do we make people from the surrounding towns want to come to the downtown? What does the downtown have to look like and offer? Those are things that the bid can work on locally into the future. So right now we've been able to kind of like build the organization and provide a lot of seed capital through TDI. This effort for the bid is to expand the reach of the district, because the bid would engulf a much larger area than what the TDI district currently is. It involves a lot more people. And it would provide for a local institution to continue building upon the things that we have done already. So this is what we've been doing. We've been making capital investments to alleviate a future bid's kind of like financial load. So we spent about $23,000 on trash cans. The bid is not going to have to do that. They could just inherit the trash cans and pick up the service. We've done a lot of landscaping, which is like they're not going to have to do that in the future because we already cut all the big brush and whatever. We're investing in planters now. We're going to do 1 or 2 blocks of planters and see how they go in terms of like maintenance, in terms of like how the community takes care of them and how should we respond to that. But we're going to leave something behind that then the bid can actually take up. So that's the second initiative. Again, this is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's very convoluted, the process. We're working with all these timetables, and the city has been very cooperative in terms of like helping us with assessed values of different properties and such. So, but that is on a steady course, and we hope to, we've retained Ann farther than what TDI is going, but by then, we hope that I'm not really necessary, and we're gonna have local leadership kind of, if TDI doesn't get extended. That's the second initiative. So we do appearance, we're doing the bid. And the third is TDI equity, which is the investment in really necessary, like in capital investment that a lot of our entrepreneurs need to succeed downtown. And TDI equity, it was just in the paper, like this is the second year that we do it. This round we had $374,000 that were invested in 5 businesses in the downtown. And it's a grant that's really like, if you have a plan, if you are serious about opening a storefront within the next year, if you have a site that you've already located, if you have run your numbers and you know how much money you need for build out, if you need capital investment, if you need to hire someone, the grant is really, really vague with the purpose of trying to get some of these businesses off the ground. And so far, there's been 9 businesses in Holyoke that have been invested, and there's another round that's open now. We're meeting with entrepreneurs that want to open spaces downtown. We have 6 identified that we're encouraging to apply, and we're actually meeting with them and helping them send in their expression of interest and then sending their final application. And we hope to find a couple more, just so we have a strong representation with Holyoke. And TDI equity is also, I think, really important because we're seeing a lot of like cool businesses open downtown. But some of them, like, most of them are really struggling. And I feel like we haven't hit like a critical mass downtown where we have enough businesses that people want to kind of like take a long stroll and eat something, drink something, meet with someone, run some errands, work out, do like we need like critical mass of small businesses within a more compressed area in the downtown. So we can get some momentum. And hopefully we can do that with a couple more injections of TDI equity. So that is gonna be a TDI. If TDI actually ends in August 31st, then that's a legacy that's gonna like go into the next year. And hopefully with the bid also, the bid can be it, because TDI equities is moving away from TDI. Now it's on the one stop. So now it's actually like a state program. So even if TDI doesn't continue, this grant should be available in the future. And if we have a bid that's informed about it, if we have people in the bid that have won this grant and have applied and moved forward, then I think we're going to leave behind also a core group of people that know how to take advantage of these programs when they're made available in the future. So that's where we're at. I gotta say we have, for example, on the block between Lyman and Dwight, I want to say we have between TDI equity from last year and this year that is coming. Again, there's about 6 or 7 businesses that we hope to see open over the next couple of months to about a year, and that area also being transformed as kind of like attraction to the downtown. I'm not familiar with the politics of the extension of TDI or not. I've expressed my interest in continuing the work. I think TDI is too short as it is. But as of right now, my contract ends August 31st. And this is what we're focusing a lot of our energy on, is just kind of like leaving all the pieces in place so that the work can continue. The investments have been made. And the local group that remains is set up for success, continuing these initiatives and improving the downtown. So that being said, I don't know if there's any questions. Wow. So no?
Yeah, Kevin, really great update. Appreciate all the hard work you're doing. You alluded a couple times to like safety and security. Can you talk a little bit more about like what that's looked like?
I think there's two things. One of them is there's an active drug trade downtown. We're just gonna say it, and I think there's an element of police enforcement that would aid that, or if not, at least an open conversation on how we can co-invest in terms of like maybe community policing, or there's an aspect of enforcement I feel that is lacking, particularly downtown. If you go down the high street, some blocks in the summer, people are dealing blood out in the open, and that scares a lot of people away. So that's one for safety and security. The second and the second part is we have a floating homeless population that, because there's nobody else downtown, they pop out, and I feel like that deters people also from coming downtown. Because if you go to Northampton, there's like they got even more homeless people sometimes than they're downtown, but there's other people walking around, so maybe you don't notice it that much. Main South and Worcester is kind of the same situation. So I feel like those are issues that I have high hopes that the bid will be able to bring in an extra arm of resources and brain power and community buy-in that can work with the city, can work with the mayor, can work with the police, can provide hours to apply to more funding, for example, that's going to be able to assist in some of these issues. But I think investments like TDI equity, for example, are an investment in safety and security, because if we can get enough entrepreneurs that still believe in the downtown, want to open their businesses and attract their own customers to come, then we're gonna have more people walking around. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Questions from my fellow members?
Daphne had her hand up first. You got a couple.
Thank you, Kevin. That was really a great update. I don't know if I have any questions other than just two comments. One, the trash statistics that you brought up, the 18 trash barrels costing $10,000 a year. I just would love to have it noted in the record that I find it really egregious that the city of Holyoke could not pick up that $10,000 a year to provide for our downtown businesses, and that they are left to ask our business community to sponsor it. I just think it's really egregious that all of these people pay taxes and we can't find a budget, $10,000 in our DPW budget to pick up the trash downtown on High Street. I think it looks great. I think the initiative is great, and I thank you for all of that work. So the second comment that I had really was when you're comparing Northampton and other areas and people walking around, I would say the real lack for downtown Holyoke is still those upper floors of buildings being vacant. And I think when we have more residents, just more people living downtown, it will feel like it's not kind of hollowed out still. And that's, I think, something this board, we need to work on. So.
No, I agree. I think housing is, I think we're also seeing a shift where people were willing to move to get a job anywhere. And now I think people are thinking of housing first because they can work remotely. And if we can offer affordable, accessible housing, different housing opportunities, I feel people are going to come to the downtown. Yeah, so I agree with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
First of all, like everyone else, Kevin, thank you very much for taking the time and giving us the update. Daphne, I had the same reaction to the $10,000 amount. It's a rounding error to certain budgets, and it just feels like that would be now that you guys have kind of laid the groundwork and made the investment and demonstrated how it works, it would be a logical expense for the city to pick up, and probably somewhat of a burden certain businesses to pick up on their own. But at the same time, when you were discussing that first initiative, I wrote down bid, because it just seemed like it made sense. If there were certain initiatives the business community did want to get involved with, that would be a vehicle to do it. Yeah. But I'm not clear. I seem to recall that the formation of bids, that there's state legislation involved that created that, and that there's a lot of requirements. And I'm assuming when you talk about two steps forward and one step back, that trying to comply with those legislative requirements is probably part of the challenge. Is that right?
Yes. So there's a very clear chain of actions to form a bid, and it involves many different actors. So you have to have majorities of property owners involved. You have to have majority of property evaluation, assessed value of properties bought in. You have to have local authorities bought in. So all the legislation only says what has to happen, and has helped us break all this down. It just has like 7 different legs trying to walk at the same time. And that's where myself and my team are kind of trying to do the legwork, following the analogy. But yeah, we are moving forward. Like, we're very happy with the progress we've made. But yeah, it is a pickle. And it's been also kind of like very draining for the people who have stood up, the property owners and the business owners who have like stood up and said, yes, I want to participate. So we're actually trying to get as much work done in between meetings and the steering committee. And because again, it is a lot of talking to people, getting people excited about it, identifying who's not going to be on board, and then strategizing about it. But yeah, as I was saying, like, the legislation tells you what needs to happen, but then you have to figure out how to make it happen.
Have you spoken to like the bid in Springfield? I know there was a bid in Westfield. I don't know if they still have one. I know there was a bid in Northampton. I don't know if they still have one. Have you been able to spend time with those surrounding communities to get the pluses and minuses of their own experience?
We've talked to a few of them, but Anne helped form all of those. So Anne brings all the experience with her. She has template budgets that other bids started. She knows all the ins and outs of why this one failed and this one succeeded. I feel like we're in good hands, and I joke that this always sounded like a good idea. We would have had no idea how to do this without her help. So that's kind of where we're at right now. But I just want to say, like, this is, again, it is convoluted and a lot of work, but we're on time, the timetable that we set ourselves, hopefully getting some sort of petition towards the fall, which is kind of aggressive, but I think we can pull it off. We're on track to do that. We've had a lot of buy-in by local property owners in general. A lot of people asking about it and wanting to participate. And I'm excited. I think this has good prospects. Let's just say it.
So maybe a question for you, maybe a question for Aaron. Well, let's just use this particular initiative as an example, hoping to have something in place or a petition by the fall. Well, Kevin's done in August. So this isn't the first time that TDIs have reached their expiration. So there's got to be a thought at the state level in terms of how do we continue some of this funding? How do we continue some of these initiatives? Or are they just saying to the cities and towns, all right, we did this pre-work for you, now you figure it out, which is the...
Yeah. I mean, that's the conversation we're having. I need to follow up with Annabelle, who's not the TDI coordinator. So we had a conversation months ago when she first came on board, and yes, I mean, is this, I had an offline conversation with Marcus Morero about this, how we, his philosophy was that, cities should not have to pay for the service, but I'm also like, well, I don't want to pay for the service to keep the service. I'd rather pay something towards it than lose it. Kevin and I have talked briefly offline. He has a life and kids and things to figure out, so I think he would want to know, by the June timetable, if it's going past August, right? Because he's got to find his next job, if this is not the job. So there's a bit of and I'm concerned, right? Whether it's the bid or it's the half dozen other initiatives that we have going on without a point person. All the projects we're working on, so without a point person, they lose their momentum.
Is there precedence for that to extend?
There's like 3 options that they're juggling right now. I know a lot of it depends on state funding, the budget. There's a new governor now. I think things change kind of on a whim. There's a lot of uncertainty. We're working fully knowing that this date in August is coming. we're confident we can build everything up to. The time comes in August. What's left is organizing the petition, basically, and that's a more local kind of political work. The job of there's a lot of legwork involved right now, which is knocking on a lot of doors and talking to people and spreading the good news about the bid. And that's going well. And for the time being, that's one of our main focuses. So we're kind of forced to have a wait and see approach because we have no say over the budget right now. And we're working really hard to make sure everything's set in place. If that due date comes in August and things just dissolve, everything's handed off probably. So.
And my last question is TDI equity. Say that right. Is there a certain dollar amount that's been set aside for that initiative, or do you find applicants and then apply for money? So is there a dollar amount set aside for the initiative?
So this is a gateway city statewide initiative. So anybody from a gateway city can apply to this as long as they're within the TDI districts. So there's 13 TDI districts in the state currently. TDI had set aside $1 million for this initiative, but they went out and raised more money. So the past 2 years, every budget has been about $2.5 million that they've had to distribute. That's why we were able to get, the first year we got 280, this year we got 370. Now that it has passed into the hands of the state has allotted $1 million for this. And I don't know if TDI, who's going to be managing it, is going to be allowed to inject new funds that they raise on the side like they've done before. That's still a discussion that's being had right now. So I don't have news for that, but I do know compelling applications get attention. So that's what we're trying to work now on with some of the entrepreneurs that we have.
Does that go away on the 31st of August as well?
No, I think
Just our point person.
Right, our point person does, in trying to read the tea leaves in some ways, the TDI equity that will be available to anyone in the TDI district, because even when he leaves, it's still a TDI district, right? I mean, I think technically that's still a TDI district, 1 through 4. So people can apply within these districts. And to look at it in the pessimistic way, it's, Master Development's going to get rid of TDI fellows because they don't have the money for it, but they want to keep the equity grant. That's why they put it into the state one stop.
Yeah, they put that into.
That's the the writing on the wall. They're going to maybe revamp this whole program, but they want to keep these grants for gateway cities. They're going to run to the one stop. So there's a little like, okay, we can. So these companies businesses and programs that are in these districts will still have access to a pot of money that's specifically for them. In 13 other districts, right? But so they're in competition for all those one-stop applications. I liked it better the way it was because we kind of had a dollar amount of Kevin gathered all the applications together from the district and presented it, and then they funded what they could. So
just to follow up, did I hear you say that you put 280,000 out in the first year and 370,000 out in the second year?
Yes.
Those are numbers I've never heard.
Yeah.
And I wish we had.
Yeah.
To me, anyway, that's a number that kind of surprises me.
Yeah, Kevin, can we? Maybe you already have it, but it would be good. I think we've had it, but if we can get that like Excel sheet that shows where the money went. Paper City Clothing got some good money up on their storefront. No, sorry, Paper City Fabrics got some good money up their storefront on High Street. And lots of the SOP program, DJ O'Connor, Master Circle Supplies, some of the restaurants. So it's been divvied out.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we can get plus the initiative.
Yeah, I can send the there was a news article actually posted today about it also. I can send you the news clip so you can read about it.
And it's a little less than good.
Thanks.
I have two. I know it's already been a half hour, so I want to speak, but just real quick. Anything else on real estate? I mean, I know one of the big initiatives when we first got on was trying to deal with the synagogue. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition. Yeah. And maybe a mention about you're still looking to activate the vacant lot there that Wayfinders owns.
Yeah, we have an agreement with them. We have to sort out some partner issues. But if everything is clear and we get the funding, yes, we're looking to at least clear it out and make it look like a place people want to come and hang out. That's on the, so that lot, this is the lot that's where, what's the name of the Essex Hotel used to be? Is that the name? Yeah, so it's that lot, and then, you know, kind of treating and landscaping some of the sites around it. If we have some planters and stuff, it'll look like a place people are gonna wanna hang out or point when they're driving by or something. So yes, that's also on the books.
And any other update on real estate stuff that you gotta,
No,
we're gonna talk about the site readiness grant
I
later.
was gonna say, like, there's site readiness, and then, well, we didn't get that EPA grant, so then I think Emily still has some funds to do it, so she was asking if we had some spaces downtown that she would like to keep it for her community for center production, Center for Community Production. But that's kind of like a long shot, I don't know. But aside from that, no more updates really with real estate.
Yeah, that's a challenge for us. Is to kind of, yes. So we're gonna talk about the way, the site readiness grant a little bit, so.
Okay.
Kevin, thank you so much for your time. And
No worries. And, you know, my email is on this invite. I don't know, Aaron, you want to share it? So I'm always welcome to provide more information, answer questions, sit down and talk about it. I'm always open and welcoming a conversation. So thank you very much and have a good rest of your evening.
Thanks, Kevin.
all right, so we'll jump back to the top of the agenda. There are motions to accept the HRA meeting minutes from January 22nd, 2025.
So
Second,
Do a roll call, please.
Any comments?
Are there any comments? Thank you, Director Vega. Discussion.
Yeah, like discussion, yeah.
They look good to me.
Okay. Thomas Creed,
Hold on.
Actually,
hold on.
sorry.
Just one note, you know, this was discussed at the last meeting, but I think since then we had a discussion with Wynn, and they did say that there's still work to do in the parking lot on Appleton. They still have to do all the lighting and stuff like that. So I think that came out that it was done, but in further discussion, there's still some upgrades to be done there. I just wanted to, no corrections in the minutes, but was referenced here is fully built out.
Thanks, Sean. Right, sorry, roll call now, please.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thomas Creed,
yes.
Daphne Board,
yes.
and Patrick Bourget.
Yes.
All right.
Moving on to property project updates, and next steps, start with South Holyoke Homes, someone from staff, let us know what's the latest and greatest.
Yeah, I mean, so Sarah, they have they're still moving forward with phase 2. They have the pads all laid down for the modular homes. There was a report, I think there was a report from HHA recently, right? Was there?
Well, they presented it
In the last meeting, so yeah, I think they're just moving forward. They're obviously questioning their ability, what the financing ability will be for phase 3 with the federal government and changes there with HUD. So, but phase 2 is moving forward, and there's one other. We also,
Is there no vulnerability to phase 2?
that's my understanding. That's all paid for. That's all been contracted. Yes. So they've gone through pre-apps with phase 3 over in planning, so everything's moving forward. But they're just worried about the finance. No, so I don't know whether we're moving to phase 3. Oh, no, but that's the main concern right now. With the federal financing.
I don't know if it's the HHA or if it's Western Builders or a combination of both. But there's been a lot of activity on LinkedIn showing the progress of our particular pieces, which is kind of cool. That's cool. I'm watching.
So one more reason I got people on LinkedIn page. Okay.
216, 191 Appleton Street.
Wynn. Yeah, so Wynn, we visited Wynn, was it last week? Was last Monday? Yeah, last Monday I visited with the mayor and Rep. Duffy and staff from the Federal Business Office. They also had the woman who's the property manager there. So they went already knows the property manager, and she manages other property. So we walked through, they have a model apartment already kind of built out. The walkway is built out. And everything's progressing along great with phase one. We continue to be in discussions with them about the rail property on that side. Obviously, WinnDevelopment would like to acquire that and not have the rail there, so we are talking to Pioneer Valley Railroad about that. John's been working with them and with MassDOT on some of the decommissioned rail areas to see if there's something somewhere else they can expand rail. And we are.
So just before you get off of that, so that's, the issue is that storage space.
1,000 feet of storage space for them.
So if somebody could just find another 1,000 feet or convince them they don't need it,
So, right,
which they clearly have not needed it for the last few months,
you know, here, yep.
but again,
Yes, so we are definitely working with them, to really look hard at Water Street, where they already have easements and there's no active rail there, we know the companies are coming to that area. That makes sense to put much more rail down that area. We've got a good conversation with them, you know, just explaining like this area is changing, right? I mean, it's not the industrial area that it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, there's other places where rail is maybe needed. But again, they don't want to give up that 1,000 feet of rail. I think the biggest challenge is that, you know, we have a good relationship with Jeremy, their Western Mass or the Massachusetts representative, or I'm not sure his title, VP of something, I'm sure, but it's not locally owned anymore. You know, it's owned by a Florida company, Florida, so, you know, they just look at, we don't want to lose any rail. If that's sort of, any track, okay, we don't want to lose any track. So we are trying to find other locations, but, you know, as with most properties, you open the can of worms, right? Whether it's MassDOT or Mass Highway or if it's city property, there's always some story behind it. And then trying to find a property that's next to their current rail, you know, also.
You know, I think we've tried to intercede and try to find a way to make this happen, and more recently, we've encouraged Win to go directly to the railroad and then see where we can play a supporting role, so we might need HRA support sometime, you know, because ideally, and I think this was the message that I got in our last call, was we don't envision the city or the HRA taking ownership, as we envision Win. This is Win's, you know, we have a ground lease that we hope eventually will turn into a sale, not only phase one, but phase two. For us to get into ownership of or rail, even, you know, if we have to be an intermediary or we're just taking out right away, maybe, but it's more efficient if they deal directly with the railroad on a lot of levels. But if we make support somehow.
So the UPP grant that they got, that we applied for with them, they are actively initiating use now. The firewall is already built between the two cases, and they're hopeful that they'll do the entire roof of building 4, where only half it's being done now. So there's other shoring to do, but they're hoping that they're able to do the whole roof of building 4 with the UPP, along with other things to show up that building. So that's looking good. They are probably looking to apply again to the one stop. So we're in conversation with them about that. And they recently, as folks remember, they bifurcated the project to officially be phase 1 and phase 2 with Mass Historic and then Federal Historic. And they were also looking at the potential removal of buildings 1 and 2. So they're working with the Federal Historic
National
Parks, thank you. And to get a designation that they could remove those buildings. They have the structural engineering reports. We just got their application, which we can send to you. So they have documentation of both buildings. So, and they just recently approved that they could go move forward now with removal of those 2 buildings. But they're also somewhere between a $500,000 and a $1.2 million demo
Yeah.
estimate. So we're not sure what it is. Jennifer has applied, working with CDG, working with Alicia and Office of Community Development to see if there's city funds that can be utilized to match or to help support. But obviously this falls on Win to do, whether it's now or phase 2.
for a long period of time, they didn't really want us to have a discussion about demolition because it jeopardizes the historic tax credit. So they got this ruling from the National Park Service, who administers these tax credits, saying, we're okay with this, we approved that work. And so now the funding comes into play because there's already been one quote received and we're trying to figure out in a system where we can how this can be paid for. So that's kind of the next step on it. So I suspect we'll have that discussion at it.
They're also keep bringing it up with us, and we've offered them some ideas, but obviously will be up to them to figure some stuff out. But they are starting to have the conversation about parking for phase 2, where that would be, what that would look like. So, we've discussed Marshall Street. There's a municipal lot there in the corner. There's also the former Restaurant building. The former bakery building.
And then dedicated parking at the city parking lot.
Yeah. So they're looking at parking options for phase 2. So a lot of those pieces. Now, that's, another reason why they would look to, the rail property would be partially green space and open space, but also access to phase 2 and then potential parking along there. You could have parking right along the building. So.
Share with us, I don't know if the board sees this, but a rendering of what that could look like, and it's really nice.
Yeah, so we can share that. We can share, we just got in, I don't know if you saw, but, Lisa, that's it?
Yeah, she sent the backup to the historic paperwork that was submitted.
Yeah.
I don't know if that rendering of that was a separate.
But we'll send that to you, because it has their application to the National Park Service, and then we can provide this rendering as a potential.
Yeah, really detailed information on lots of pictures.
And I will say, we have talked to them, we have talked to them preliminarily about, what they look like in phase 2, still 55 and over, incomes, so we definitely try to push them on the HDIP. They came back and said, obviously, it's not as lucrative support as the light tech, but they are also very willing to be pushing the 60 to 80% median income for the light tech. With some units at the 30%, but trying to focus more on that. So they are definitely open to that conversation. Although 55 and over is all good, but so they are looking at phase 2, what that look like. They did get, I think we had it last time, but they did get a large mass historic tax credit allocation. I know the legislature did use some additional money into the tax credit program, so I think they got $1 million allocation this last one for phase 2. So we're moving forward with that. And we'd love, everybody, I think, I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe construction companies aren't there, it would be great to just roll them into phase 2, but I'm not sure that time is going to work out. So they do still plan on occupying the building this fall.
Yeah. So the tour happened on the 10th with the mayor and our state reps.
Yeah.
Has the city council ever gotten a tour? We're gonna offer a tour?
No.
When I hear city this, city that,
Yeah.
that's gonna require them to know what it is we're actually talking about.
Yeah.
I just wonder if that makes sense. And I think I mentioned this before, I don't know that how effective a job we've necessarily done explaining to the city council just how much investment Wynn has put into this. And from my perspective, I think they ought to understand the investment that all the players have made in the city, to the extent that the city's being asked to do something, that they understand everyone's got skin in the game. And no better way than to walk them through the property and get a chance to see it for themselves.
Yep. I can reach out to figure out, I'll reach out to the mayor and see how we can coordinate that.
Just a thought.
Yep. Now that thought, maybe they'll come over for a visit before their meetings, and they just don't have to talk to each other. They'll be perfect. So, but yeah, I think, as you know, there's some, when we say the city, there is some obviously city involvement, but I do think a lot of times when John and I are referencing the city, we are meaning the HRA in some ways, because there is that nice separation.
Right. I totally get that. the extent that there's
Yes.
needs.
Right, if they had been maybe more familiar with the project and had toured, they might not have been so against CPA funding for
I guess that was
it. Like,
kind of where I started.
Yep, got it.
At the last meeting, it came up about the bridge work. I did send an update, and I think it's just in the last month or so, our new city engineer, our former city engineer is our new city engineer now. And I know Aaron, you're gonna talk to him, and this is where you want to check on, but it appears that work is scheduled for 2026 is the last update I saw. But I did send it, I intended to send it right after the last meeting, and I put it aside, and I saw the minutes today, and I resent it, so there's some information there.
We want to skip to 37 Appleton?
Can I,
Sure.
sorry, I just have a question. Do we have any like statistics or information about the need for 60 to 80% income rental and 30%, just breaking down like either by existing income in the Western Mass area or specifically Holyoke? I think that could, I mean, maybe Wynn is looking at that, I don't know, but I don't think we have any 60 to 80% dedicated housing in the city at all, and we certainly probably have a lack of 30%, but I don't really know that because I'm not a professional. Love to just have some of that information and see what the need really is.
I can share with you, yes, absolutely. I can share with you some of the work that Office of Community Development and the mayor and I have been working
Yeah.
on. There's a little PowerPoint we can share with you on some of the housing projects in the pipeline, and Alicia does have that data.
Great.
We're over 30% income restricted units and all this kind of stuff, so absolutely. Yep. Good call.
Yeah, I love that question, Daphne. I think we'll be much better prepared to have conversations like this the upcoming year, knowing what it is the city really needs and where we can support it. So, so can we skip to 37 Appleton for now, and we'll be back to 123 Pine in a second?
Yep.
Great.
37 Appleton is they are in front of the planning board. They come back on March 11th.
Yes.
Yeah, March 11th.
So they were there the 11th of February. Then when I read the minutes.
They just continued.
That was pretty, yeah.
Yeah, they had a
So the hearing's been carried over.
They've sent in their plans. Jeff sent in one round of comments. Now we're waiting for their comments back. For the planning board. It is still just the one building on the north side of the property. And they've not given any indication as to what the rest of the property will be at this point. Still working on some of the details. It is basically a butler building, mostly for the repairs of their vehicles. We do also think they're doing some transferring there, so Jeff and Davin, our zoning officer from the building department, are keeping a close eye on that. And we're also trying to get an understanding, because they kind of switch, if they're repairing just their own vehicles, or if they let other companies bring their vehicles in for repair. That just means they need different licenses and permits. So if they're just repairing their own vehicles, they only need one set of permits, but they're gonna open it up for repair for anybody else, they need a different permit, a different license. So we're trying to work those details out.
I think the other part is we've had some good discussions with the building commissioner and the staff there about the situation with 37 Appleton as it relates to the HRA agreement, as well as their other location on Canal Street here, which, they've indicated that they're gonna transition to heavy use of this location over to where it's more proper zone, in accordance with the restrictions in the plan. So we're monitoring and having that dialogue with other departments, which are really the enforcement officers.
Daphne, any questions? Great.
I think we can. Oh yeah, we can say something about 123, and then we can, if we need to go into executive, we can.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's an optional executive to discuss this, but why don't we hear what staff has to share and then we can make a decision.
Yeah. So, so they have met with, Lynn Sweet, our housing consultant. They're in addition to other issues, they're in a funny spot, meaning that they're not in the HDIP area, so they couldn't apply for HDIP, funding. It's in that weird space of numbers where it's either too big for NSP and too small for UPP, right? So they're just in this weird space. But they have been working with Lynn to see if there's some funding. There's supposed to be, an RFP coming out of Office of Community Development for additional ARPA funds that are available, and the mayor wants it to only be for housing projects. So we've given him, about 4 projects that are probably gonna apply. One of them, on 2 of them on High Street. So, 2 of them on High Street, so that's good news. And then, 123 Pine and another one over on Suffolk Street. So, they were in front of the, vacant building registration, hearing, and John did a sort of side-by-side comparison of their timelines. And it seems that they, just kind of shifted the dates within the timeline, but it's still the same end date. Still seems to be a little bit of a challenge. They, are continuing to try to get Elm. I think their biggest issue, as we've heard, is that Elm Street isn't monetized yet, so it's not fully occupied. So, a lot of the banking has to deal with, getting this first one occupied and getting revenue coming in, then they can get traditional debt. So they're in a space where I think they can't get traditional debt. I guess the one piece I would also say is that, the former building commissioner, was recently in there doing an inspection. I assume it relates to BBR, and felt that, that they were, the heart's in the right place, I think he said, that, but they got the right ambition, but it's going to be a long time. And that then, just turns it to us and to say, where's HRA's focus? Where's the capacity? And if we were to move on anything, what's the end result? So I guess that's a question of, because I've been in conversations with other developers and other housing projects and different people, and in one hand, we want more developers to be in Holyoke, but on the other hand, if I have 2 developers or 20 developers, they're all going for the same pots of money. So no matter who comes in for a property, they're gonna be going for those same pots of money at the state level. So they're almost in competition with each other. So it is sort of a balancing act as to, having the people that we have today, the properties they have today, and supporting them as best we can and trying to see them move forward. Because with a different person be able to bring anything else to the table, maybe. But unless they want to put in their own money, they'd be going for the same programs as anybody else.
I guess, understanding that, is there a desire by my fellow members to discuss this in executive briefly, or?
Yes.
Is that a
Yes.
motion?
Yes.
Do we need a motion, or we've got an executive session scheduled, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we wrap up this agenda.
Yeah, and then we can go into, I guess, how I say it, we go into executive session, we don't expect any votes to come out. I don't think, if we talked about UPP,
Yeah, Daphne,
I don't know if we need to come back to this, really.
in our packet, we had a letter for South Holyoke Homes. It was a draft. Do we need to talk about that I mean, I realize it's for phase 3, but I feel like, I guess I feel like we should just continue doing what we need to do to support them, regardless of what the federal government is doing or not doing, and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think we can, if it's, the board's prerogative, but if we finish the business in regular session, go to executive, unless there's a vote in executive, which we don't anticipate,
right,
we don't have to come back to regular session.
okay,
So there's a few other things in the regular meeting that we could address right before that.
yeah,
So the UPP and the South Holyoke Homes letter.
and the Stantec proposal.
And that's the, sorry. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, I
The
see.
site readiness, yep.
Actually, that's what that is.
Yeah.
That's the site right now.
That's High Street.
Okay. All right, so we'll do those two. So yeah, so the site readiness grant, which is C. Right, under two.
E.
D, I mean, E. So the draft, so just for quick context, because I know that Tiffany will be watching this. So we applied for a site readiness grant. This gives us technical support to look at an area for development. And Mass Development picked the agency, which would be Stantec, also the agency that's doing our wayfinding initiative. And Ben Murphy is the lead from Mass Development on this, former employee here, as you all know. And they have sent us a draft of what they would consider the scope of work for this. Jennifer, John, and I, and Kevin met with Ben just yesterday and pushed back a little bit, if to be politely. And it was good to be with Ben because we could be very open and frank. Our goal is to increase, if you look at the last page where it kind of has the buckets where the funding was going, our goal is to increase that last bucket where it only says 10,000, but maybe make that a 3-digit number at least. And so, or a 6-digit number, I should say, fully, get that over up to 100,000 or more. We believe that with all the studies that have gone on with the current comp plan, comprehensive plans, public engagement, with the public engagement that Kevin's done on TBI, that we don't think that much funding should be spent on the engagement and creating a plan when there's already a lot of plans in place. Everybody sort of knows that without public investment to get that area, so those properties actually site ready, private investment's not going to come in. Which is why the HRA is designed and developed and created. So we're just pushing back a little bit. So Jennifer, John, and I are editing the proposal and hope to get back to Ben by next Tuesday. Ben was receptive, understood what we were saying. If we look at that proposal and really sort of try to machete the whole section, I mean, we'd still do a stakeholder meeting or two. I don't think we need 15 stakeholder meetings. I don't think we need workshops with interactive activities. And what we really need is, the market analysis, perhaps remnants of what could happen there, and perhaps any pre-prep of that property, whether it is prepping for any kind of cleanup, dealing with anything inside the buildings, removal of anything, asbestos or anything like that. Any of that would be much more valuable to get what we're considering Haberman and the HAPCO buildings much more site ready. Within the site readiness grant, it says purchasing, acquisition, demolition, it says all those things, and they want to do a $200,000 plan. So we're trying to find common ground. John's found the plan that Mass Development did 6 years ago or so for a different area of the city. Again, not necessarily apples to apples comparison. It was an empty area, but that was $40,000. Right, it was all the same stuff for the economic development plan, so to speak. So we are negotiating, working on, we trying to draft that. I think that Ben understands where we're coming from. And just additionally, we are going to do things that we're going to be doing. We talked about today. We are still waiting for a personal representative to be appointed on behalf of Al Henry. Al, who passed away. We were very close on getting an access agreement to get DEP into Haberman's, but then passed away, and so now the courts are involved. So there's the family and the lawyer are still in favor of this, but there's just details to be worked out. So we feel like once we get that access agreement, we can get DEP in there and really get a phase, get some environmental done and see what's going on there. The HAPCO building, which we've all talked about for many years, we are going to start a process. So I'm going to be drafting a letter to send to the owner, which by all accounts will come back to us. We're going to send it certified, but again, whatever we end up doing with that property, if there's ever an eminent domain or who knows what's going to happen, we're gonna start a process, so I'm gonna reach out to the owner, certified mail, indicating all the great things going on at High Street, right? The TDI work, the MassDOT redesign project, the site readiness grant. We'd love to talk to you about your building and how we can work together. You know, we'll have a nice letter, see if we get a response, see if it comes back. But again, it's that first step in whatever we end up doing with that property. So those are the two other things that we're doing in line with this, to get this grant. So one of the things that Ben was concerned was, he's like, it feels like you're only talking about Haberman's, like, we're talking about the whole city block. It just happens to be owned by two people, Haberman's and Alvin Bang. Right, because it's the empty lots are Haberman's, then it's Hapco, then it's Haberman's again. So it's a whole problem.
They're all in the real plans acquisitions.
They're all in the already.
And, it's interesting because, part of the discussion was, are we addressing this block? Well, what about the block there and the block behind? But the point is, we have to start somewhere and have some kind of catalytic type project that could help other areas, have value for investment. I think one of the asks of the board is if there's any suggestions on what we could get out of this funding for site readiness. My hope is that there's 25% of that 200,000 is used for planning purposes, and some of this other stuff, and 150 is used for the stuff that Aaron described, that are all allowable uses. We've had site readiness grants for Holyoke, Carson, he had one for Monroe a while back. So we used it for a variety of uses, so we have flexibility there. And I think the application generator had that flexibility built into it. That you work with.
So if folks do have time to review it and do want to send us, again, we understand everyone's busy, so but given that context, if you do have time to look through it, I want to send us any notes. By all means, please do. We do plan to. We're working on our own right now. We plan to work on together on Monday and try to get something back on Tuesday next week. So short time window. So again, if you have time, great. If not, understandable. But if you can take a review at it.
Yeah, there may be things involved like getting surveys or some legal work involved, title, all that kind of stuff would fit into.
Because again, for site readiness, doing a survey, and we can A&R some of those smaller parcels and make it one parcel, right? So then that costs, that costs $5,000 probably to just do that. Well,
Right. Well, so I would say that I have reviewed it, and I don't know that I'll be able to give you red lines, but I agree with the spirit of what the staff's trying to do here, which is get more money for actual site readiness work. So at least take that with you into future conversations.
Yeah, I was generally disappointed in what I read, because having been a part of that first meeting, I thought we made it pretty clear that we wanted to leverage the work that had already been done, and it seems like they want to do it all over again. And one, that's just a waste of time, in my opinion. It's a waste of money. And I would think that the community, who's already been asked all these different times by all these different surveys, and now you got another one coming in?
Yeah.
Right.
How many times do I need to tell you?
Exactly.
So I really think, I know there's both pride in authorship, and they're probably looking at these like, well, I would have done this a little bit differently. Okay. But spending all this money on redoing all that work and not getting to the concrete stuff, literally, that we want to get to, is a real disappointment. So I think to Pat's point, I think you're headed in the right direction. If there's red line stuff we can try to provide, but I think generally speaking, we are all looking at this the same way.
Yeah,
Tom just said it. I won't repeat it.
all right. No, thank you. Yeah, we will take that to heart and work with
Do
them.
you think we would have one more pass? We will have one more pass for the board of what we think the final scope is at the next meeting.
Yeah.
And before that, we'll share what, because we've already started to.
He's been machete.
Yeah, I was like, John tells it, oh, all right. All right, and then, so the South Holyoke Homes letter, yeah, you're right, so that was, anything else on that?
No.
Okay, so the South Holyoke Homes letter of support, yeah, for phase 3, that was, came from Sarah. I did one, I think the mayor did one. You're right, they're moving forward on phase 3 regardless of, it's just, they're obviously got it. I mean, anyone who uses special money, is probably just wondering what's gonna happen. So, but they are moving forward. So they did ask for a letter of support from the HRA.
Daphne, you flagged this. Thank you for that. Any other thoughts you want to share on it?
I just saw the bold in the middle where it was sort of asking us, to provide information, which I just kind of assume that staff will be, saying who we are and what our purpose is, and the redevelopment plan and how it meets it and all of that. But I didn't know if we had anything else, other specific things just to talk about in terms of the demand for rental housing and how it fits into just really increasing density in that area and making it an actual vibrant, thriving neighborhood. I mean, those were just sort of my thoughts. They're kind of boilerplate, but it'd be nice if we could just come up with a couple lines that were specific and made the letter a little plumpier.
No, I agree. A little more personalized from this group. I like that.
I'm assuming you need a motion for the chair to execute this letter. And I don't think you need to bring it back to this board in terms of the additions that Daphne's suggesting, that you could probably just run by the signatory and get it out. So to that end, I would make a motion that we authorize the chair to execute a letter of support to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities in support of HHA in phase 3. If any
Second.
material
Sorry.
changes.
Second one, is there discussion? Other than my commentary, this is the first time you've given me this much wiggle room to actually decide if it's a signable letter, so I appreciate you giving me so easy one.
Yeah, and we'll draft something. I think you're right. Like we can put something together about some of that. So we'll put something together for you. And you can
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a second,
Second, yeah.
discussion. Have a roll call, please, Kim?
Patrick Boudry,
Yes.
Thomas Creed,
Yes.
Daphne Board.
Yes.
All right.
I'll try not to rack up too many legal fees on this one. Okay, so, is there any other business?
No.
Great. So I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
So I would move we adjourn this meeting, and can I put the same motion that we would move into executive session, recognizing that we would not need to go back into regular session.
Second.
Gotcha. Kim, one more roll call, please.
Yes. Thomas Creed,
Yes.
Daphne Board,
Yes.
Patrick Boudry.
Yes, thank you.